close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Here we go. Hello, folks. A little bit of a blip then. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're well, hope you're fine. My name's Karl Smith from the UK Hypnosis Academy. It's a great pleasure to have alongside me tonight as our guest presenter, a good friend of mine and somebody who many years ago I used to go to school with. Well, I think it was only about 10 years ago, Paul, wasn't it? So, about that. So, but yeah, you know, we're going to be talking tonight to Paul Gibson. And Paul is an ex-dermo nurse, a dermatology nurse. He's going to talk about that in a moment. And he's going to tell us about his experiences in dermatology and then how he came into hypnosis, randomly how we used to go to school with each other and then ended up on the same course about 20 years later. And then we're going to go from there. But we're not going to mention that shower shite course tonight. We're not going to mention how terrible that course was, or who that training provider was. So that's where we are. But on the same token, guys, don't forget, this is a YouTube channel. This is a membership site. And if you want to get all of the background material, if you want to get some of the free stuff in the background, and also as well, my diploma that we're launching in July, we'll be sending it into the back end of that. If you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. It only costs $5, $9 or $90 to join, and you're more than welcome to do it. All you need to do is just open up YouTube in another page and press the join button and choose which one that you wish to do. So here we go. So did Briandon get knocked off? I believe. No, Briandon did it again. Subliminals for you. Briandon, good evening. Subliminals. Oh, that's me. Brenda Chung, hope you're well. Eddie, Aritna Nunna, Janet Stanlin, hope you're well. David McHugh, just got your email. Eric Rounce, hope you're well. Janet Stanlin, sorry. Dartington, all right, Si, hope you're well. Hope you're fine. Mario, great to speak to you. Looking forward to speaking to you tomorrow. Jackie, hope you're well, hope you're fine. Lee, hello, mate, hope you're well. I did put you in the group earlier, my friend. In the from the training at the weekend. Colette, hope you're well. Hope he's made you a coffee in the early hours of this morning. Jackie, hope you're well. Big thumbs up for you. Jacqueline Haley, hope you're well. Tracy, Crookshank, hope you're well. James over in Bulgaria, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but hello, and all of that. I'd just like to make sure that we've got all of those. So we've got 34 power in already. Renee, hope you're well. Max, hope you're well, my friend. Hope you're well. Hope you're fine over in sunny California. Good. It's great to see you all. Just one more quick punt out as well. For those people who are interested, we are running a hypnotherapy with me masterclass in England in November. So if you go to the UK Hypnosis Academy website, I am running a masterclass for 5 days in November in England. So you've got no excuses not to join us. Patrick Brady, hope you're well. Professional hypnosis, no, unfortunately, you can't do it via a mobile device. You have to go back onto your PC or anything like that, okay? Harold, hope you're well, hope you're fine. Right, I'll bring up to that in a moment. Patrick Brady, hope you're well, hope you're fine. Yeah, so if you want to join the membership, you have to do it via your laptop or your computer. So go from there. Good. So just the first one up there is just fire this one up. Hi, Carl. This session's extremely interesting to me since the very first thing I resolved with hypnosis was an extreme dry skin of my nine-year-old son a year ago. Excited to learn a lot. Yeah, it's great to have it on here. It's great to have Paul on here as well. Me and Paul work closely together in the background with Barry Neal, who you all know, and Paul's our resident nerd. That's all I'm going to say on that one. So I'm just going to leave it on there. But no, it's great, honestly. Paul's heavy into his research, and we sit there talking about stuff all day long. Hi, Tina. Hope you're well. Hope you're fine. What we tend to do is waste 5 minutes waiting for everybody to turn up because they don't have the military timing that I do. So anyone who's late in future will have to send me bottles of gin. So it's 5 minutes before parade in future, guys. So let's get on with this. I'll say hello as we go along. We'll answer questions as we go along. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to introduce you to Paul and then go from there. Like I said a minute ago to most of you, good evening, Peter. I've known Paul since probably about 90s. Really, we used to go to the same school, and then we departed, and then he went off and did his thing, and then all of a sudden we both went to Norwich one day. Norwich University, no, not Norwich University, Norwich UEA, wasn't it?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, we went to the Norwich UEA, and we ended up doing a 10-month shit course. I mean, empowering course for 10 months. So there we go there. Really? So yeah, good evening, Nigel. Thanks, Jackie, for doing that. So yeah, and then we did that, and then we've been doing stuff ever since, really. So been dibbling out, and Paul's been helping us out with the mental welfare coach as well, and getting involved with that side of things. So it's all been really good. So guys, at the end of the day, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Paul Gibson. Don't forget, guys, say hello to Paul as we normally do with any guest presenters. So thanks, Paul, for doing this tonight. So Paul, just tell us a bit about yourself, a bit about what it's like to be a dermatology nurse, and a bit about what you do now. And the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, hi guys. It's the first time I've used StreamYard, so if I miss any questions or someone says hello and I don't say hello back, I do apologise.
I'll capture it.
Good stuff. I think Janet's saying hello from Cornwall. I was there 2 weeks ago. Lovely place, very relaxing. Slightly jealous that you're still there. So somebody said they resolved their son's 9-year-old skin with hypnosis. Harold, absolutely fantastic. So as Carl was saying, I'm Paul. We went to the same school together without knowing it. Ended up in the same initial hypnosis training course, which, if anyone knows Carl, they know what it's called. It certainly set the stones for further learning. Yeah. And then me and Carl just we departed ways in learning, and we come back into each other with our different sets of knowledge. Now, for the last 10 years, I was in dermatology nursing. Mainly involved in skin cancer surgery, but also in the general clinics looking at skin dermatosis, rashes, treatment and diagnosis. One of the things which would commonly come up, but never asked initially by the doctors, was what was going on in your life at the time of when the rash, dermatosis, psoriasis, eczema came up. So if the doctor had to leave the room, I was just curious. I would ask them. Always a stressful event. And I'll talk about that more in a moment's time. Hi, Simon. But for 10 years, anyone who's ever worked in the NHS knows it's a bit like a prison. And for them, started learning hypnosis. And there's a theory that some people seem to stick by, that when you learn how to use hypnosis or any kind of psychological or emotional counseling, it's a wounded healer theory. You've got to be broken yourself, and that's the reason why you're seeking help. I just like to fix things. I like to find out how things work and to be able to manipulate it to the desired outcome. And I remember one day I was watching a program on hypnosis, and I asked myself a question which always leads or followed by years of study, which is, how do they do that? So I looked at a course, found a local course at UEA, which Carl was talking about, learned some things, found another course, which me and Carl went to in Exeter. Then I actually learned about hypnosis.
Yeah.
And then went on a little journey. My journey took me into more of the uncovering of how things worked. I'm interested in why people feel the way they do on an emotional, psychological, and physical level. I'm interested in the somatic manifestations of trapped or repressed emotions. And that studies took me on to quite a lot of places. 2 years ago was at the World Congress on complex trauma. Very, very interesting. really looking forward to talking to people that I held in really high esteem, psychiatrists, psychologists, psychotherapists, so I could ask them about all the things that they know. And what surprised me was they didn't know as much as I thought. Psychiatrists are very good at recognizing the mechanics of actions of something physical and what to prescribe for them. Psychologists were amazing at research. But I was asking about trauma. I was asking about how repressed emotions work. And I wasn't getting very many succinct answers. So then I started looking into the work of Dan Siegel, Ruth Ogden, Janina Fisher. And they started answering the questions. They're the ones who research attachment theory, attachment strategies. They're the ones who look at unmet needs, and everything started to make sense. And what you often find is individual modes of therapy, take Gestalt, take Jungian, take Freudian, all develop their own individual theories within the system that are researched within the system. And I think Karl and I have had a discussion about this, in the sense of I'm doing a master's in psychotherapy right now, and some of the teaching is done on black and white videos. And I'm thinking to myself, how are we training off black and white videos? Because color wasn't invented then in modern psychotherapeutic techniques. So my journey carried on. And now the way I work is uncovering the emotions that create the problem. In my clinic, I work with a lot of people with trauma. I work with a lot of people with dermatological issues. And a big thing with me is psychoeducation, sitting down with a client and explaining to them why they feel the way they do. Not telling them, obviously it's an interactive session, but we don't spend 2, 3, 4, 5 years just getting the client to talk consciously. There's a reason why we're trained therapists, and that's to be able to help the client understand their problems. So that's kind of brought me up to where I am today. I still have a huge interest in dermatological issues in the skin. And I think there's been a couple of comments where people have actually been very successful in, someone with skin of the 9-year-old and someone else. I can't remember. So Mike, absolutely. Now, you got to remember, I don't know if everybody can see that question, but Mike's asked, can hypnosis actually work for hyperhidrosis? And the answer is yes. But you've also got to remember, hypnosis is a gateway. That's all it is. It's a gateway. It's what you do in hypnosis, which is what counts. So many times I see the phrase hypnosis or hypnotherapy can work for X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, no, it can't. It's a gateway. No. What are you doing inside of hypnosis is hypnotherapy. And Karl and I have spoken on forums. We've seen people say, oh, hypnotherapy is no good for this. You need to do that. I was like, yeah. Well, then you don't know.
Everything's blamed on childhood trauma as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are some trauma-informed therapists who like to think because they're trauma-informed, everything's trauma. Yeah. But there are so many people who undergo trauma who aren't traumatized, and that's what we have to remember. So, hyperhidrosis. Look, I was going to get to this in a moment, but I've got, I don't know if you can see that, a table here of a study that was done in a dermatological practice over the period of a year, assessing patients with different conditions and which conditions were emotionally triggered and how long it took from the emotional trigger to the time of the clinical change. In other words, the symptoms to manifest. Top of the list, hyperhidrosis, 100% emotionally triggered. Time interval between stress occurrence and clinical change, seconds. So can it help? Yes. You need to look at what's creating the internal stress or anxiety in order to help with the hyperhidrosis. Which one is hyperhidrosis? Yep. Hyperhidrosis is extreme sweating. So we all sweat in occasions to keep us cool. Hyperhidrosis is usually if someone has anxiety or nervousness that they're consciously or non-consciously aware of, and they sweat because the body perceives a threat. So it starts to sweat to cool you down, ready for action. And people with hyperhidrosis it's detrimental to their life because they'll be in the office and they'll just be sweating massive patches down the side of their head. But as you've seen from this study, 100% emotionally triggered. So what you would be doing, you'd be looking at any reason for them to be stressed or anxious. Is it to do with confidence? Is it to do with past issues, inner critic, and then deal with that with an intervention within hypnosis? Yes, you can deal with it with other interventions as well if you can find the cause, like eye movement therapies, psychosensory therapies. But as we're talking about hypnosis, I'm going to keep talking about hypnosis.
No, it doesn't matter, Paul. If you go on a tangent and you want to talk about psychosensory touch and stuff like that, then do it. Fire it in.
Absolutely. Okay, so when someone is feeling nervous and the manifestation is hyperhidrosis, you want them to be able to go into the memory, the thought, the feeling, whether it's from the past or the future, to activate it. And as Karl was saying, the psychosensory element is just a very simple rubbing down the arms. Rubbing down the arms exactly as when you're a child, a good mother or father or friend will see you upset and put their hand on your arm. Are you okay? Your body's designed to receive that nurture and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you can activate the memory or the problem that creates the anxiety whilst conflicting it with calming relaxation movements, you will change it. And you'll get them to repeat that exercise, either self-hypnosis, psychosensory techniques, collapsing anchors from NLP, whatever you need to do to collapse that memory. I had a client once who had extreme hyperhidrosis, and what we did, he loved football, and his favorite football player, I believe, was Cristiano Ronaldo. So in hypnosis, I got him to imagine being Cristiano Ronaldo, going onto that pitch in front of everyone and performing. And I asked him, now you've done all that, where's all the nervous sweat? Nowhere. And then we got him to anchor that feeling into the situation where he was sweating in the office, and it worked. So sometimes it can be very simple. Sometimes there is past issues that are unresolved that need to be resolved in order for the hyperhidrosis to calm down. Any more questions on that? Did that answer the question? Who asked that?
Yeah, I believe so. Let me just go to, I suffered with, 2 seconds, there's one here. I suffered with really bad eczema as a child. It coincided with parents getting divorced.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see this time and time again, especially with children who are still being shaped by the experiences of their world as their attachment system is starting to develop. And I've had quite a few people who developed eczema in the first year of life. And in hypnosis, we went into the non-conscious mind or the subconscious mind, and it was recognized that it got attention. They were being neglected, but all of a sudden, this eczema, this whole body eczema, everybody was interested in them. And it got them the attention. In other words, it met the need for nurturing. So the eczema was useful. So it's not just about an inflammatory response via external stress. It can be an inflammatory response via perceived internal stress. And the part that actually encodes that neglect or that, I hate to say the word trauma, but it is a trauma, in the brain, encodes it without time, so it stays active. And it can get triggered in subsequent moments of perceived neglect. So it's about going into that that memory, which has been encoded at that age. Some people call that inner child work. And it's about releasing that, tell them that they were loved, doing some gestalt with the parent, whatever it may be. And it's about making sure that person knows they were loved and know that they're not a child anymore who's going to be left alone. Okay, cool. Good. Okay, Havening, no, psychosensory touch was around way before Havening even came on the scene. It can date back, that dates back ages before that. So there are other psychosensory touch techniques that are very similar that have been around for quite a long time. I think that's quite a nice way of putting it about that. So there we go. I asked in a psoriasis group, does stress make it worse or trigger? Basically, everyone said yes. Absolutely. Psoriasis is an inflammatory condition. The inflammation affects the cells in the skin to start overproducing skin cells. So I'll go back to my chart. Psoriasis is number, where are we? 62% emotionally triggered, days to 2 weeks until the physical manifestation. Now, that covers all types of psoriasis. The psoriasis that has been shown in studies to be helped the most by psychological interventions, in this study, hypnotherapy, is plaque psoriasis. And that's around 80% stress triggered. Now, to understand the mechanisms of stress, if someone asked you, how can hypnotherapy help my skin condition? Just by saying it's stress, I'm going to turn around, because I'm just an inquisitive bugger, and say, what do you mean stress? How does that get into the skin? I don't understand. So you need to understand something called, actually, too much information just came through then. Let me just say that the skin cells and the nervous system cells were formed in the embryonic stage via the same germ layer, the primary germ layer. And what this means is they're connected via the same neurotransmitters and hormones. So whatever the nervous system is feeling is replicated in the skin. That's why when you have a nervousness and anger or stress, it comes out in the skin, because they're connected via the same neurotransmitters and hormones, because they came from the same primary germ layer in the embryonic stage of early development. What was I then going to say? Oh, how stress. So in order to understand stress, you need to understand something called the HPA axis. The HPA axis is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So the hypothalamus deals with internal and external stress. What's the threat? If it perceives a threat, it then sends a signal down to the pituitary gland to release adrenaline and cortisol from the adrenal glands to deal with that threat. Fantastic mechanism. It's kept us alive for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Now, inflammation gets produced at the time of stress. Cortisol sends a signal to the body to do all kinds of things to get ready for an immediate fight or flight, but cortisol is also an anti-inflammatory, so it calms the inflammation down afterwards. Inflammation, if left in the body, has an effect like rust. If left for a long time, it will start to destroy it, or as we call it, an autoimmune disorder. So when you have prolonged stress, the inflammation doesn't get the chance to go away, because cortisol, which is, remember, is a regulator of inflammation, gets pumped around so much that the adrenal glands get tired and they stop producing cortisol, adrenal fatigue. So you've lost one of the biggest anti-inflammatory hormones in the body. So inflammation is then allowed to go out throughout the body in a chronic way. If it goes into the skin, it will create psoriasis, it will create eczema, it will create dermatosis. If it goes into other parts of the body, it will, lungs, liver, it will create an autoimmune disorder or disease in that part of the body. If it goes in the gut, you'll have an IBD. So it's really important to understand how inflammation works and is regulated in the body, and how it's dysregulated by dysfunctional cortisol presence in chronic stress. Now, I hope I've explained that okay. Nodular prurigo on my list.
Let me just finish that one first. I hope you all got that. So cool. There you go. There's another question for you.
Yes, 85%. 85% emotionally triggered, seconds to the physical manifestation. And you've got to remember, this study was over a year with 4,500 patients. That makes that quite a big study. And there's things on the study. It talks about the skin cancer, not emotionally triggered, obviously. But the inflammatory ones, hyperhidrosis, neurotic excoriations. In other words, you get an itch, you scratch it to the point of where you are creating damage to the skin. That's because you've got inflammation under the surface, which is also interfering with the way the nerves or sensory element of the nerves perform, giving you that itching sensation. Really interesting one. Warts. Spreading warts and multiple warts, 94% emotionally triggered. Now, I would have never have thought that. Oh, that's another good timing, a wart question.
My very good friend had warts on her fingers and feet until she couldn't go out. Hypnosis got rid of them, but I hadn't realised it was emotionally until recently.
Yeah, absolutely. So 94% emotionally triggered, days to come to the surface. Now, the interesting thing about hypnosis is we would treat this in dermatology traditionally with cryotherapy. And if that didn't work, what would we do? We send it off to the nurse clinic for a 12 blast course of cryotherapy over a few weeks. If that didn't work, we'd use bleomycin, which is a toxin. Now, the interesting thing, when you look into the research, hypnosis has been shown to be more effective than cryotherapy and salicylic acid in multiple studies. And the reason for that is I'd say it's quite simple. The reason for that is a wart isn't dangerous to your body. You know, it's kind of like pops up, and the immune system kind of looks at it and thinks pathetic and leaves it alone. So you need to create a problem within the wart. And that's what the aim of cryotherapy is. It's aimed to destroy the tissue around it to create an inflammatory reaction, which then gets rid of the wart. Same as salicylic acid. But the hypnosis group was shown that by direct suggestion and metaphor, you can actually program the non-conscious, subconscious mind to see the wart as a danger. And we know we can control inflammation with hypnosis because it's been studied by Woods in California. You can control inflammation and leukocyte, white blood cells. So we know that's to be true. The power of direct suggestion and metaphor. One of the most common metaphors is the story of the king and queen in the castle being attacked, and it's about the knights of the castle going out and attacking the invaders and killing the enemy. Obviously, you'd make it a bit longer than that, but metaphors is a fantastic way of getting rid of warts. And it's been shown in several, I think Spanos even did a research on that. Oh, here we go, yeah. In 1990, Nicholas Spanos, who's a well-known hypnosis researcher, hypnosis can produce a targeted immune response in the areas where you have warts. And he concluded that hypnotherapy created the greatest incidence of wart disappearance, 1 to 3 sessions, 2 or 3 days after deep trance is achieved, or 1 to 2 weeks after medium trance. And I know that presupposes that there is actually a trance and trance states, but that's the quote of the research. So there's some really interesting stuff in there. What's this question? Acne. It can help with acne. It can help reduce the inflammation around the acne, which will increase the body's immune system to be able to deal with it. But a lot of acne, especially in teenagers, is due to blocked pores. So it can help it heal quicker, and it certainly can help with the extent of it. But stress isn't usually a primary activator of acne. And I will just check my little chart on that. But there is a type of acne vulgaris, 55% emotionally triggered. So there is a type of acne that was seen to be emotionally triggered. That was in teenagers, and the emotional trigger was recognized to be in with testosterone-fueled and estrogen-fueled teenagers who were searching for boundaries, not so much in adults. 2 days from initial stress to papules appearing.
Okay.
Another stat on here, really interesting for you. The Royal College of GPs suggests that 60% of visits to GP surgeries in the UK are for skin-related issues. And when you work out over 3 million people a year go to see their GP, that's 180 million visits to the GP surgery each year for people who have problems with their skin. Your skin is attached to your how the world perceives you. You know, people who want to look good, if they have problems with their skin, they'll hide, they'll put clothing on, they'll not go out. It's detrimental to self-esteem and self-image and body type. So there's like 100 million odd people out there who don't realize potentially that hypnosis can help them, and a lot quicker than months and months and months of topical steroids.
And counseling.
Yeah. Psoriatic arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis actually responds very well to psychological and emotional treatment. again, it's finding out the why. Now, there are some techniques out there where you don't need the story. You can just ask the subconscious mind if it's time to let it go. But if the subconscious mind thinks it needs to put rheumatoid arthritis in the ankles because you're always walking into bad relationships, then it's going to need to know you're not going to walk into bad relationships. And the rheumatoid arthritis, and I've had this in a client before, is a somatic representation of don't walk into that relationship. That's going to do you wrong. So it's about listening to the body, not just about removing the symptoms. I've got a client, remember, I say a young girl, I'm 43. A young girl to me is like mid-20s now. But she's got rheumatoid arthritis. We've had one session and she's doing really well with her anxiety. She's even noticed an improvement in the rheumatoid arthritis. So there's, well done, Nigel. So there isn't a protocol as such. I have a massive problem with protocols, because the protocol is designed before you've spoken to the client. And I know you've had talks before about scripts, and I thought, God, I bite my tongue. Don't say things.
Say it.
The best script you can have is sitting in front of you. They've got all the answers. Ask them. Have ideas of metaphors you can use, but also listen to the person. Don't start thinking about which, £20 miracle cure you can then start applying to everyone, which doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It will have an effect to some people, but then so does talking to your mate in the pub.
Yeah.
What we are interested in doing is good therapy. Good therapy is listening to your client, finding out about their experiences. What do they like? What do they don't like? What do they want from the therapy? What are their habits and their interests? And then putting that into a protocol. There's nothing more powerful than feeding the client's own information back to them, not some written script.
I know.
The other day, I know this is going off topic, but I saw someone make a comment in a group that said, does anybody have a script for motivation?
Yeah, I saw that. Well, mind you, that got passed out, didn't it? And I believe Terence Watts answered that.
And I thought, you don't script for motivation. Find out what motivates them. Ask them. Imagine it. Visualize it. Get them to experience it internally.
It does. It really just, it's depressing, really. I think I need to find a therapist that can do scripts for depression, because it does depress me that the poor level that people are sent out into the wilderness. And I really do. And I said that, these lot know this, and they know my views on it. It's a case of trainers use it as it gives them structure and it gives them verbiage and wordage. No, if you taught hypnosis properly in the first place, you wouldn't need that shit. So, and a script is never designed for the client, irrespective of how much you try to cultivate it and make it so unique to that person. It is designed for only one person, the therapist. And that is when that comes up with the excuse of the framework and it helps them with wordage and verbiage. That's a load of bullshit. You're not listening to the client. You're not actually taking into the client's needs. And for this, you're doing your own. And that's what's so detrimental to the profession. When people are handing out scripts on a no end, I get crib sheets. I've spoken about this before, about crib sheets. Crib sheets, if you're new and you just write a little crib sheet down about little things about what you've done, maybe a technique. Oh, I could go that way and that way. That's fine. That's fair cop. We all have to learn somewhere. But on the same token, to sit there and go, and as you just walk down the windy road, oh, Jesus Christ. It's being robbed. And I always say to people, by the way, Paul, if you've ever been taught with scripts, go back to your original trainer and ask for your money back. That's what I tell people. But anyway, that's enough of that one. That's my little rant there. Little rant.
No, you're absolutely right. I've got a question. Someone said something that...
I'll come back to that in a minute. I'll come back to that in a moment.
Yeah, good explanation. Makes all sense. Thanks very much. I'm glad you are appreciating it. Feel free to ask any questions. Someone said... A faith healer cured the warts. A hypnotist did. Absolutely right. Yeah, all faith healers are hypnotists.
Yeah. You got a question on top here, Paul?
Oh, hi, Nicola. Chronic cold sore since the baby. She's quite a nervous person. I'm thinking these could be linked. Yeah, absolutely. Well, cold sores is a virus. virus, the cold sore virus, herpes simplex, is refer to my chart actually instead of answering that, because that is on here. Okay, 35% emotionally triggered days between the stress and the occurrence. Now, we know with the herpes virus that when there is an internal or external stress, the immune system is compromised, because cortisol sends a signal down to the immune system to say, go offline for a moment because you're not needed to fight the big bloody bear out there. And in times when the immune system is lowered, any nervous virus that is activated in the system gets more of a chance to come to the surface. And when your daughter is calm, she's regulating that virus with her own immune system. Her nervousness, in other words, anxiety, is preparing her body to either run or fight. An immune system is not needed for that. So the virus gets a chance to come to the surface and do what it does. So you would be looking at techniques to help her deal with why she's nervous. I don't know how old she is, but you'd be looking at calming, anxiety relief techniques, stress regulation, depending on what she is nervous about and how old she is. So you're absolutely right. They're linked, but not directly in the sense of the virus is caused by stress. It's allowed to spread via a down-regulated immune system.
Okay, cool. Cheers. I think this is one we were trying to get to. Sorry, was it Wicks in California? Studying inflammation. Please put up a list of your references for further study. Contact Paul if you want them. His website is below. If you want to go visit his website now. How about birthmarks?
Birthmarks, there's not a lot you can do about those. They're genetic. They're depends on if you've got any spiritual beliefs or not, depending on where they come from. But it's not something, in all honesty, I've ever had anyone walk through the door and inquire about. And if they did inquire about it, I would turn them away. Because there's no evidence to suggest that they're emotionally triggered. There's no evidence to suggest that it's a fault of the immune system. So if somebody wants to have a go at resolving a birthmark, I'll be wasting their money, because I don't think that a hypnotic intervention will help it. So if you've got a birthmark you want to get rid of with hypnosis, sorry about that.
No, I was thinking to say something out loud, but I won't. You know what I was going to say. There's a technique that will work on everything.
Oh, God, yeah, that one. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, as I try to practice content-free, it would be my guess that I could deal with rheumatoid arthritis without ever locating the trigger emotional cause. Agree or not agree?
Yeah, it depends on... Now, content-free is a very non-specific term that means different things to different people.
Yeah.
You can, if you know that rheumatoid arthritis can be exaggerated by stress and anxiety, you can use IMRs as a guide. You can just go into the subconscious mind at that time in that place, which comes up. Karl will call, what do you do? Emotional detox.
Yeah.
Yeah, emotional detox. Karl has a fantastic way of working content-free with that. So I like to find out the emotional trigger by questioning. You don't have to do it, because it's about the client resolving their issue. And if they can resolve the issue internally by connecting to the non-conscious mind that has the implicit memory that created the problem, then do it. There's a world of different techniques you can do content-free. That's why my answer is a little bit vague, because it depends on what particular technique you're talking about. You can do some metaphors, some discovery metaphors. Paul Dawkins had a good one, didn't he? The river metaphor, where you meet an inner guide or something.
Yeah.
So yes, I do agree. It's not essential for the therapist to know what the triggering emotional cause is. It's just the way I like to work. But you can absolutely work content-free as well, depending on what your method is.
Julio.
I hope that helps. I mean, if you had an idea of what method you wanted to use, I could comment on that, because content-free is such a big subject. It's difficult to be more specific in that.
Yeah. Damien, commonly known as David, wants to know if he can get his 666 mark taken off of his head.
I don't want to go against the devil,
No,
so I'm going to leave his own work in place, if that's okay.
Yeah, Carl loves talking about scripts. Deep down, I am a scriptnotist. Yeah, absolutely. The client is the script. That's what's so so devastating when we see people that are, you know, taught with scripts because they're not watching the client. That's the main reason.
The thing is, if people want to use scripts, they're not taught the right questions to ask to elicit the information to actually help the client, or the confidence to be able to elicit that information from the client. You know, it's not. It's going to sound really bad. It's not rocket science.
No, it's
you
not.
know, it's. I don't understand why there is still such a movement towards scripts. I really don't. When teaching someone,
indoctrination and hypnosis.
Yeah, when teaching someone, we'll just ask them about their past. Understanding unmet needs and attachment will give you all the questions you need to elicit a majority of the emotional problems that they've had in their life. And it's not difficult to teach. But people would rather sell scripts for 10, 20, 30 pounds instead of teaching it.
Yeah.
Control room. Control room can work if you're dealing with a behavior that's to meet an unmet need. The control room will struggle to be permanent in how it works because the need will need to be met. If there's a need for love, for nurture, for security, for safety, then until that need is met, it's still going to be there. And the results you have will be temporary. So as long as essentially as long as the non-conscious mind can let go of the reason why it had a problem, then the control room will work. One of the things that I'll just quickly explain about, you have two different types of memory and different subtypes around those: implicit and explicit memory. Explicit memory is conscious memory. It's what, if I was to ask you what you had for lunch yesterday, you can tell me. It's the memory that CBT uses. We use implicit memory. Implicit memory is everything that is outside of conscious awareness. It is all the thoughts, the feelings that you've had in life that are stored in your body, that your body remembers, but it's being manifested in such a way to produce certain symptoms. I think in Gestalt, they call it a contact boundary. A contact boundary between you and the outside world. It's either meant to be permeable, semi-permeable, or non-permeable, depending on how regulated you are as a person. Now, the first rule of thermodynamics is energy doesn't start or stop, it merely transforms. So if you have an emotion inside of you that you don't allow to express yourself, and it hits a boundary and it comes back in, it's still there. It's just transformed into something else. So via content-free work or via archaeology type work, it's about finding that implicit memory which got buried, the implicit emotion. And actually, a very good point is, it's not about the memory, it's about the emotion. Memories can be distorted, and they are distorted. You cannot fake a traumatic or a hyper-arousal emotion. That is accurate. The visual around it can change. It does change every time you activate it and put it back down again. Which is why, and I've seen this on quite a few forums, just regress them, just regress them, just regress them. Regression's a really powerful tool, really powerful. But you're not regressing to the event, you're regressing to the perception of the event. And that's really important to understand. Because if regression was accurate, there wouldn't be such a phrase that we've all said, that's not how I remember it. But you can't fake the emotion behind it. So deal with the emotion, follow the emotion.
Now, just before you kick in, Paul, to give you 30 seconds, don't forget, guys, we had Gary Coles on last week talking about hypno-oncology. So if you did miss that interview last week, hypno-oncology, this came up in there as well. But I'm going to see what Paul's point of view is without throwing you under the bus. Okay,
absolutely. So can hypnosis help with skin cancer? Well, I copy and pasted a line from some research, which I've lost where I pasted it now. There has been, from 2011, a study by Scrivo into the inflammatory response in the body. There has been that inflammatory response constitutes the common soil of the multifactorial diseases, including cardiovascular, metabolic diseases, psychotic neurodegenerative disorders, and cancer. So there's a lot of research into going how inflammation is linked with cancer. Can it help skin cancer? I would just aim to reduce the person's anxiety or nervousness, reduce the inflammation, and see what happens. Because you're not allowed to say something helps with skin cancer.
No. It's under the Cancer Act, isn't it?
Yeah, Cancer Act 1920 or 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
So what you'd be saying to someone with skin cancer is, what are you feeling around it? What are your emotions? What are you going through right now? And help them with that. Now, there has been incidences of spontaneous. Yeah, that just creates new words. There has been incidences, and many of them, of spontaneous remission of cancer. There's even an old book with all the histology slides before and after of spontaneous remission of cancer. Now, what we don't know is why all of a sudden that cancer went. You'll get people who will have an opinion on it who aren't medically educated, regress to the point when the cancer started. I'm sorry, but that's not what we do. We deal with past emotions. We deal with how they're feeling about the cancer, coping mechanisms, bring the body back into alignment by reducing the inflammation and inflammatory response as much as possible. And if that affects the cancer positively, fantastic. But we never say it can. So I hope that's answered the question.
Yeah, I think cure was the big thing as well. I think when Gary was talking about the other day about certain people that have got techniques that think they can cure it. Just one on that. With certain types of cancers and stuff, is it DNA based? I've got an idea on this, but however, just for the members of the public, is it DNA based? Is it something that will be passed from generation to generation, or especially in skin cancer and stuff like that?
Well, the evidence more suggests it's more epigenetics than genetics. So right. you can have a predisposition for it, but it requires an external experience to be triggered.
Gotcha.
And this will go back to that quote from that research article that talks about how inflammation can promote those diseases, including cancer. Right. So people can have a predisposition for psoriasis, but without the external stressor, the gene's not going to express itself.
Got it. Yeah. Good. I just thought I'd fire that one up because I can see that. What we got going here? Oh, it's one of Eddie's favourites. What is your take on human givens or the human needs in resolving the same? It's Eddie's favourite. That is it's Eddie's favourite. So
I liked the human givens approach before it was the human givens approach.
Yeah, like most things.
Human givens have done some wonderful work in taking known concepts and changing what they are as a title, but keeping keeping the content but changing the context. Perfect example of that is a rewind technique.
Yeah.
The rewind technique is a fast phobic double disassociation from NLP. But it's now the rewind technique in human givens. The human givens is what I was saying before, it's about meeting unmet needs. And so I do like the way they work, but I like the way they worked before it was human givens.
Yep. Like most.
And they made a lot of money on it. So
most people are ripping people off.
Yep, absolutely.
And yes, we'll just not go down that avenue tonight. We'll do that another night. Okay, so help reduce the associated symptoms, the stressors around the inflammatory issues. Was part of
absolutely. It's about putting the body back into balance. Now, I can't remember if I said this or not, but when you have the cortisol's job is to regulate the inflammation in the body, which is why steroid creams are put on the skin to reduce the inflammation. I have said this, a deja vu. When there's prolonged stress, you get cortisol dysfunction. So, which means the inflammatory issues are greater in the body. So it's about removing the issues that created the cortisol excess in the first place. So you're looking at internal stress, external stress, how they feel about themselves, low feelings of self-worth. You're looking at past issues, unresolved trauma. Now you can do that via questioning. You can do that via parts therapy. You can do that via content-free work by use of imagery and metaphors. But yeah, resolve the issues to create an inflammatory balance and a cortisol balance in the body.
Brilliant. Happy days. Let me just do this.
HG reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is useful, but you got to understand at the time of when it was created, it was a predominantly middle-class white background of where it was created. We now live in a multicultural society that isn't reflected in the unmet needs of Maslow. Tony Robbins had 6 needs we need to met.
I was going to say exactly that then. It was exactly what I was going to say, Tony Robbins' version.
Yeah, a much more centered around a modern environment.
Yeah.
And it also ties into attachment theory and attachment strategies about getting your needs met. What else we got here?
If an implicit memory triggers a physical reaction, is the same as firing a pattern match?
Yeah. If I think what you're saying is that the causative elements of the problem in the unresolved implicit memory is that it finds a pattern in the external environment, which then fires up the implicit memory. So it's a pattern match. Yeah. You know, we're pattern making machines. Our brain is a pattern making matrix. And we're designed to do that. If, you know, you've got to remember, we are essentially hunter-gatherers. If we're attacked in the wild by a bloody saber-toothed tiger, we need to look at the environment that saber-toothed tiger was in and not go in it again. So we need to pattern match that wherever we go. So it's an old safety mechanism that isn't designed for a modern world. So it tries to adapt.
Coolio. Just trying to go through tonight to make sure I'm trying to get as many people on there. Good. Good. Here we go. Here's a nice one here. Mario.
How about skin pain due to neuropathy? It depends on the neuropathy, what caused it, any underlying problems. You can turn down the sensory element of the neuropathy depending on what's caused and how far gone or how far down the line the neuropathy is. So I can't give you a specific answer to that. If it's diet, for example, it could be diabetic neuropathy, in which case it's a physical and a chemical imbalance and cause. So you can help with pain management, and techniques in that context, like the control room, are very good. Submodality switching, very good. But it depends on the cause of neuropathy.
Cool.
Trigeminal neuralgia, for example, is known to be an inflammatory, and and the cause is known. It's not on this because this isn't dermatology, but it's been known to be an emotional psychological. And you can use hypnotic interventions for trigeminal neuralgia very successfully. Good.
Happy days. Here we go. Same technique for warts as for skin tags.
No, different system. The skin tags are essentially an overgrowth, whereas the warts are virus. So, unfortunately, if you got a wart, if you got a skin tag, you're either going to be stuck with it. There's lots of remedies out there, like tie a piece of string around it and all that, or get it shaved off, a little curettage or a shave excision. But there's no evidence that skin tags respond to a hypnosis treatment at all.
Good. Guys, we're coming up to the last 5 minutes. Don't forget, guys and ladies and gents, this is a membership site. If you want to join and get further information and stuff like that, more training, just go out of this channel, go back into like a Google search, type in this channel again, go back into YouTube. press join, $5, $9, or $90 for the month. And then you get you get a session with me if you want to, and do stuff like that. And plus, there's going to be more stuff hidden behind the scenes as well that we can do as well. I just read something. Where did I just see that? Yeah, so if you want to join, just do that. I'm just looking for something there. What was that? I just saw in my 20s, I was taught to use self-hypnosis for cancer of the womb. I was fighting the blob that scares movies. It worked well at the time, although the cancer returned years later. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what you're essentially doing there is you're targeting an immune response by use of metaphor, and so it's recruiting extra members of your army to go to the area. So that's useful. Always recommend metaphor techniques against fighting cancer. It was recommended in a really good book and DVD, which if it was there. Oh Christ, I can't remember it. I wish I could just bring it out. Fight for Your Life, it's called. It's a 70s, 80s production, but it talks about a lot of techniques and metaphors in how to fight against cancer. It's produced by a doctor, I can't remember, but it's called Fight for Your Life.
Oh, brilliant. Just one that I missed earlier. Lee, you actually drove past the office while I was sat in it, just to let you know. I've been in here all day, so you've drove past mine. So, yeah, I'm actually on the base as well. Let me just go past here. There we go there. There we go here. There we go there. Thanks for all the information tonight, Paul. Cheers. Tonight's flown by. Yeah, dude, doesn't he? Tony Bobbins. There we go. Oh, my God. Like he just pulled it out of nowhere. Where did that come from, Paul? I want to know.
I can't tell you because it was painful pulling it out.
There we go. Guys, don't forget, if you enjoyed tonight, obviously that likes and dislikes really do help us promote the channel. So anymore, and like Eddie pointed out earlier, yeah. So good. But don't forget, guys, if you could just put a like up on the video, that'd be really, really good. And just leave your comments about if you've enjoyed tonight. If you want to hear more like this in future, good. Yes, Lee. Yeah, you passed my office. You'll have to tell me where you were, what company you were, because I'm literally here. Really interesting. Thanks. It'd be great. Be great to see Paul do a demo session. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, if Paul pulls his finger out of his rectum and he does what I ask him to do and set up his YouTube channel, like I've told you, bunch of Muppets, then guess what? And Synergy. Yes, it's literally next door. So, right. Good. So cheers, Peter. Thanks very much. I did see something about could you more likes please, could you re-explain the cortisol phase? Where were we a minute ago about how cortisol's I'm just trying to find it now. It was the last one. Anya, you're on detention for turning up late again. Here it is. Could you repeat the cortisol?
So it's quite a complex mechanics of action, but essentially your hypothalamus is what regulates a sense of internal and external threat. If it perceives a threat, it sends a signal to the pituitary gland to send a signal down to the adrenal glands to release adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline is what fuels go into the body that enables 70 kilogram mother to lift a car up. Cortisol is what is a hormone, is a signaler in the body that says cut down digestion, cut down immune system, cut down reproduction system. We are going into a fight, and we need energy in the muscles. We need energy to either run or to fight. Now, cortisol is an anti-inflammatory, and it balances the body's natural immune function of inflammation. When you're chronically stressed, you are releasing too much cortisol. Your adrenal glands get fatigued and then just stop releasing cortisol or slow down, which means that you don't get the inflammatory regulation from a fully functioning adrenal gland. So you get more inflammation in the body. And where that inflammation goes is dependent on what destruction it does. Now, you've got to remember, inflammation is your body's weapon against viruses, disease, cancer, and all kinds of things. I know there's other cells that are involved in it, but this is the body's main weapon. And when you let a weapon loose in your body with no particular rules, it will attack something. So you need to get the adrenal glands back functioning. You need to help deal with the adrenal fatigue, is a term that's coined around quite a lot. And any internal or external stress.
I believe that answers the question. Guys, I just want to say thanks very much for your comments tonight. Don't forget, I have had Paul's banner going along the bottom or more. There we are there. So there's Paul's website. Don't forget to go give it a click, go give him a message. For those people that are interested in more of it, hopefully Paul will pull his finger out of his rectum and start to
I do have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's got about 4, 5, 6 videos on it for stress management and regulation. I do need to add more in there, but it's got some. Yeah,
good. Yeah, that would be really helpful, wouldn't it? Like 4 videos, Paul. Anyway, that's the sarcasm out of the window. No, just want to say thanks very much, my friend. Thank you very much for tonight. And I know from the comments that we're reading here, it's gone down really well. And, you know, and I always lean on you for the nerdy side of things. And I mean that in a respectful way, while me and Barry are taking a piss out of it.
It's been great. It's gone by really quick. I must admit, I was a little bit nervous coming in and thought, God, I haven't got an hour's worth of talk or conversation. People are going to find me dull and boring, like Karl does. But it's been really interesting. So I really appreciate you all listening and asking questions and allowed me to talk. So thank you for that.
Yeah, cool. Let me just do this. And nearer, let me just do this one. Hi, just joined. Is there anything to do or take before hypnosis session to help let you go? No, this isn't Franz Anton Mesmer. We're not going to get you to take some type of diuretic or something like that to make you shit yourself and make you believe. Laxatives, no. Anyway, good. There's all of that. There's all of that. Guys, I find it, I always love it really when I bring a guest presenter on, I think, well, I'll nurture them through, I'll help them through. But it's really nice, like when we had Barry on as well, we can pull the pin and just let people just do what they do. I'm merely just a facilitator. And I love it. I do love it. Yeah, we'll just do that. So it'd be great. We'll get Paul on again. We'll probably do another subject somewhere along the line. We didn't even go into what it was like being a dermo nurse, to be quite honest, you know, dermatology nurse and all that, but even still, people can contact you and find you out that way. But on the same, I just want to say thanks very much, guys. Down below, let me put my finger on the camera. Down below is Paul's website. Please give me a shout out. And like ever, just thanks very much. Okay, don't forget, guys, this is a subscription site. If you want more information or training, please just hit the join button and join us that way. And don't forget, tomorrow night, we have got Anthony Brindley on, who's a web developer. He's actually a fairly good web developer and one who does do the job on the tin. And he's going to be joining us tomorrow. It's not a sales pitch, nothing like that. It's going to be talking about websites, WordPress, SEO. We're going to be talking about media. We're going to be talking like loads of other things and things like that. So if you've got any questions about websites, media, SEO, chatbots, you name it, you know, bloody Facebook pixels. I bet most of you haven't got a Facebook pixel. But the thing is that literally like that, we're going to be talking about that tomorrow night. So it's all about business tomorrow. Then Friday night is Q&A with me. And then just to let you know, Monday, Richard Barker's with us. And next Thursday, we've got Kaz Riley talking about sexual freedom and sexual stuff. Her book on sexual freedom as well. That's what I meant to say. So, guys, thanks very much. And James, go itch away. And guys, thanks very much for your support tonight. Thank you very much, Paul, for everything you've done tonight. It's always great. Guys, don't forget, give Paul a big shout. And we'll love you and leave you there. As ever, thanks very much. I'll see you at 7:30 tomorrow. And don't forget, guys, remember, go out there, practice. And when you finish practicing, go practice tomorrow. Go practice some more. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow, 7:30 sharp. Anyone late, you're getting a detention. Take care, guys. All the best, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
See you guys.